So we get it somewhere we can work on it. So what I like to do is I like to check the spark plug, I like to check the gas, I like to check the air filter and the oil. Normally, if it's been sitting for a year, I'm just going to go ahead and replace the oil. So you see this one's got extra fluid. And I actually did replace the oil in this about 3 months ago. So I actually replaced the oil in this about 3 months ago, so I'm not going to show that. But just know, normally you're going to want to replace the oil. It's very easy. So this is what the drain plug looks like on these. You take this out, oil will come out, and then you just fill it in either right here or right here. Either one's fine. It goes to the same place. But still got some gasoline in it from last season. I think last time I used it was 4 months ago. So it shouldn't be too terrible in there. As you can see, this one's got to start. It's got to stop, and then it's got to run, so you have to adjust your speed right here. It doesn't have a lever up there. All this lever does is it engages the tines. Manual choke, pretty simple setup. If it has a fuel filter, this is the time that you would go ahead and you would check the fuel filter. But again, just the basic things we want to check. So we do want to check the air box. So as you can see, our air filter is pretty dirty. See all that dirt coming out of it. The paper element itself doesn't look too bad. As you can see, it's got a nice white color. So what we can do is we can try to blow this out. And whenever we blow it out, we're going to initially blow from this side. So that way we're not embedding dirt particles in when we blow from this side. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to clean it first. Like I said, the color looks real good on all this right here. So it's not. So our air compressor, we just need to wait to turn it on because we don't have enough air right now. But we are going to go ahead and check the spark plug. This one's pretty tight. There we go. So this is called an ignition coil. What this runs to, this is the spark plug wire, and it runs to the engine, and this is what actually carries the spark from the engine to the spark plug. So there's some crap around right here that we don't want to get into the spark plug chamber. So we're going to use some pliers, kind of fish it out first. Looks like insulation. Thank mice for this. And we don't have much PSI left, just 30 PSI. That's enough to clean right here. Wear a mask if you're going to do this, especially if there's rat droppings. Or the wind's blowing that way, so I'm standing on this side. But you don't want to breathe any of this in. So we're about out of PSI. So we're gonna have to wait to fill it up. But as you can see, we cleaned that up, so now nothing's gonna get that spark plug. And this set only comes with, oh, what about it? Huh. Didn't even know. So this set only comes with one, so something sharp, so you know, obviously be careful. This tool set only came with one spark plug, and luckily it's the right size. I'm going to use me an extension. When using extensions, be sure not to pull it like this or this. You know, you don't want to damage it. So I like to keep one hand holding it in line, so that way the force is transmitted in the right direction. Then once it's broke, I'm going to take this, just pull it out like that. So as you can see, this spark plug looks really good. You know, it's got some corrosion right there, but the actual electrode itself looks like if it's been running lean, actually. Lean to perfect. It's not too carbon built up, so it's not running rich. But since the electrode's fine, as you can see right there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean it off, and then we're just going to reuse this spark plug. I normally use steel brushes, but I like brass brushes because they actually are softer than the steel, so they won't damage anything. But they also take longer to clean it. If we're having any problems with this mower, you know, a spark plug is one of the things we can replace. But as long as the electrode and the gap is good and the porcelain's not cracked anywhere, normally the spark plug's not going to be a problem. Normally it's going to be the carburetor. Always start these by hand. You really don't want to cross thread it. So, tighten it where you really got to be careful of applying that torque from different directions. So again, use one hand, keep it in line. So it's good. You don't want to put the power of God in it. You just want to get a little tight. If you have some grease, a lot of traffic. If you have some grease, it's a good idea to apply a little bit of grease to the tip of the spark plug, so that way if it corrodes, if you have some grease, it's a good idea to apply a little bit to the tip of the spark plug to prevent corrosion inside here and just keep it good contact. It's full, so now we can blow it out properly. Blow it in here too. See all that? Whew. Again, wear a mask, don't want to breathe this in. So now again, if your oil hasn't been changed recently, now's the time to do it. If there's any blackness at all, you know, you need to be changed. But as you can see, this oil is brand new. Like I said, I've ran it once with this new oil in it. So now we do have gas in there. Not much. It smells okay, doesn't smell the best, but we're gonna see if it'll run with it. So we're gonna put it to choke. Gonna set this to run. If it doesn't run within 2 more pulls, then we're going to work on the carburetor. So since it didn't start, what we're going to do is we're going to spray a little bit of starter fluid in there and see if it'll run with the starter fluid in there. And if it does, then that means it's a fuel issue and we have spark and compression. You can try to run it with the air filter off, but I wouldn't recommend it just because you can get dirt sucked in there. So it started with starter fluid, so we know that the issue is going to be a fueling issue. Also, one thing, check stop switches and safety switches, because you know, if a kill switch is on, it's obviously not going to run, but you would figure that out because it wouldn't be getting spark. But if your motor's on the right settings and it's not turning over, spray some starter fluid in there, and if it starts, then you know that it's a fuel issue and it's not spark or compression. And again, you just spray that into the carburetor. It goes airbox, carburetor, engine, exhaust. So since we know it's a fueling issue, what we're going to do is we're going to retake this cover back off. If it's a fueling issue, the first thing to check is make sure it has gas. Can't tell you how many times I've seen it where the item in question was out of gas, completely out of gas, and they just didn't know it. So check the gas, make sure it's a high enough level that it'll run. There's a few different potential issues since we've narrowed it down to the fuel system. We have gas, and you know, the gas is flowing right here. So one thing to check is to make sure we're getting gas inside the carburetor. Most carburetors will have a drain on the bottom, as you can see right here. Most of the time it's like a 12 millimeter, 13 millimeter, half inch. I always like to use 6 points. Let's see if it's a half, or is this one? Yeah, this one. So this one's a half. So this does two things. One, this will get fresh gas inside the carburetor. It'll drain all that old gas out. And number two, you'll make sure that you'll have gas in there by doing this. Before we take that off though, since gas will be flowing this way, what I'd recommend is putting some fresh gas inside here. Now, if you don't have a hose clamp or any way to stop the flow of gasoline, then I wouldn't recommend doing this because you'll drain the whole tank. Let's see, we didn't put much in there, just a little bit, just enough to get some fresh gas in there. Gonna put that lid back on. Gonna throw the lid. So I got these off of Amazon, and these actually go on the fuel line, and you pinch down and it'll stop the flow of gasoline. So if you got to take the carburetor off, these are a lifesaver. I've got some that are straight, and then I got these angled ones, although I prefer the angled ones. But so we're going to drain the carburetor, see if we can, because sometimes you get lucky in just draining the old gas and getting new gas in there is enough for it to run. So can you see how yellow that is? Ooh, yeah, it smells terrible. See how yellow it is? And it's kind of clearing up as we get the new gas in there. So you see, that's what's in there. That's, in the business we call that not very good. See just how yellow that is? So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack this open. And I'm going to let gas flow out of there. Just till it gets clear. Don't do this when the motor's hot. If you do this when the motor's hot, If you do this when the motor's hot, then there's a chance that you could catch it on fire. But as you see, now the gasoline is clear. So it means we've gotten that fresh gasoline into the carburetor. Another thing you can do is you can clamp the fuel line right here, open it up, so that way it'll get all the old gasoline out of there that way, and then you can just open it up and you know you have fresh gas. Or you can just let the gas drain out. The gas will just evaporate from right here. If you want, you can catch it and then dispose of it properly. So now what we're going to do, since we got fresh gas in there, we're just going to see if it'll run. Like I said, most of the time you will actually have to take off the carburetor and clean it, but every now and again you get lucky, and just getting fresh gas in there is all that's needed. So we'll see if we got lucky, if just fresh gas is what's needed. So as you saw, it started right up. Now it did have a little bit of surging. Normally that will clear up the more fresh gas you run through it. There's also additives you can run like seafoam, and the more you run it, the more that the fresh gas will dissolve the old built up stuff, and the better it'll run. If it's surging to the point where it's unusable, then you're going to have to go take the carburetor off and, you know, give it a full service, which I'll show in another video. But so now it's running. We got the oil change, we got the spark plug cleaned, we got air filter cleaned. It's pretty much ready for the season. So we'll just till a little bit right here and make sure it runs good. So here I got some motor treatment, which, you know, this is pretty much just SuperTech brand, so Walmart brand seafoam. So I'm just going to put it in there. If this was the client's, like if you're doing this for somebody, because of the surging, I would recommend a full carburetor rebuild. But so most of y'all aren't going to be in the business of fixing other people's stuff, so this is the steps you would be taking. So like I said, since it ran with the new gas, all we're doing is we're adding some fuel treatment. If you like name brand, Seafoam's the name brand, but we got it in neutral, so we're just going to start it, and then we're going to take it to where we need to till, and then we're going to till. So let's just see if it'll start again. Choke. Starts right up. Let's move the choke. But that's it, guys. So now it's running good, should start right up, and that's all I've got for you. That's how to get your motor ready for spring. Thanks for watching.